Welcome. It is so nice to see you. My name is Alexander Hamilton. Oh, how nice it is for you to be here in Independence Hall of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, a building which houses a tremendous amount of American history. If only these walls could speak, oh, the stories that they would tell. But the men that were here were sworn to secrecy at the time, so that word did not get out about both declaring our independence and, more importantly, when we were creating a new form of government for this nascent nation. For when the hostilities began, it really began going back to the Stamp Act, because the hostilities were taxes imposed upon the people without their consent. Now, you might think about consent as being something which is not necessarily given, about taxation to the people. A ruler can tax as they wish. Well, there is a very long history of that happening in Great Britain, where the people were left to be mere subjects of a king who is the equivalent of God on earth. We have gone through those times and we have changed. We have overcome. We have grown. And so, as per the English Constitution, all property owning men have a right to vote for their representative in Parliament. Now, when the colonies first began, going back to the first English colony of Jamestown, Virginia, in 1607, the oversight of a parliamentary delegation or delegate to that colony and future colonies was not even a consideration. Those were simple endeavors to explore, to habitate, to cultivate, and be what may come, hopefully to the advantage of the monarchy as per their plan. But as time went on here in the New World, and the decades passed, and generations of people lived and literally carved their own lives out of the wilderness here of this great country. And we ourselves went through a great transformation about how we view life. Benjamin Franklin, one of the delegates from Pennsylvania, he, as the wise old sage for our proceedings, is also a testament to the growth of the human intellect. For one of his early teachers was a person by the name of Cotton Mather. If you have heard about the 1690s Salem witch trials, then you'll be familiar with Cotton Mather and his role in this hysteria where public executions took place upon the innocent most innocent of people solely because of a flawed system built upon, well, I dare not delve too far into that, but that is not my area of expertise. But Cotton Mather was a teacher of Benjamin Franklin. And as Benjamin Franklin grew, and he himself, in living in Boston, was indentured at one point to his elder brother, who was quite the antagonist, as he would beat young Benjamin regularly. As an indentured servant to his elder brother, he is learning the trade of printing, and this ownership forbids him from seeking other employment, from seeking other residence, from basically seeking any bit of your free time, as your body, and your time is owned by that indentured contract to his elder brother. So young Benjamin Franklin stole himself away, as he is considered property. He stole himself from Boston. He had to mislead the captain of the ship, for if the captain knew the true cause, then he would be aiding and abetting a crime. But young Franklin put it off to his, as we now know, persistent fancy of basically having a relationship with one of the ladies of Boston, to which he had to evacuate himself from post haste. And so he made his way on down eventually to Philadelphia, where one of his great inventions was the lightning rod, a simple piece of metal placed on top of a house to do, and with a metal line running down from the pole to deep in the ground. It would then serve as a conductor to take any electrical potential and deliver it straight down to the ground. And of course, we are talking about lightning at this point. For I have lived through that age where if your house was hit by lightning, oh my, what have you done? Why is God angry with you? There was some reason why God chose to spite your house. What did you do? Well, this type of mentality was slow to change, as all mentalities are, but the change does occur, advancement does occur, and thanks to Benjamin Franklin, he started to teach people on how to control the environment. This is at the same time when ships are going to the far reaches of the colonies and the world. They are bringing back different foods, different plants, different spices, different methods of producing goods, different methods of manufacturing, and the ecosystems, the plants, how they can be used. New plants that are taking over in popularity, like sugar, cacao, coffee. These are all the rage. But so is just the general interest in horticulture, as we are understanding how we can take a plant from one area of the world and successfully grow it in another area, and the means and mechanics of how that happens and how we can best make it happen. This is the sense of growth that's going on. Of course, this is for our labors, but our mind is enriched through the Scottish Enlightenment, those great philosophers who are teaching us about a greater sense of understanding throughout the world and our place in it, and that we can have the confidence to govern and direct ourselves as a society. We are now referring to hereditary rule, something which has continued throughout the centuries. An antiquated system, whereas, as Thomas Jefferson once said, to paraphrase him, I would much believe in hereditary rule when the absolute best candidate for the chair of the Office of Mathematics at Cambridge University was the son of the former chair who successfully and admirably held that position. For we understand that a son is not always as great as the father, and as we are subject to the learning curve of such sons from their age of enrichment of title, these systems really are antiquated. And now, through the confidence of living in this new world for the last 170 years, 160 years, if you want to think about the Stamp Act, we have grown and we have separated. We are like the elder teenager who now is living life on their own, or maybe even put as somewhere as someone in their early 20s, to be completely on their own and handling their own affairs, but then to have the mother come back in and try to tell us what to do. We are too long away from being able to accept such a command. The command, of course, being equal tax. The tax to us, which is arbitrary in nature, simply on every single printed good. If it's printed, it must have a stamp. And the stamp costs money. And that money goes to the crown. Now, they will say that it goes to protect us here in the New World for the vast amounts of the debt which occurred during the French and Indian War, but that was not our call to create this war. And we know once the great abundance of military men in our towns, but you have closed many of the outlying forts. You, the monarchy, have created a demarcation line to which we cannot go west of. Hence, culling the dream of America in the hearts and minds of all the possible people that want to come here. This stamp was widely uh, contested at the time. Of course, myself during 1765, I was but a young boy down in the Caribbean dealing with some of my own issues as my mother is about to pass away and my father is no longer around, and soon I shall be orphaned as well as a bastard. But as time goes on, I am taken in by my first benefactor, but my first mentor, Mr. Kruger, to which we had a trading relationship with my mother, as well as myself and my brother James. My mother would buy goods from him, and she had a small shop. So after her passing, went to work with Mr. Kruger, and I started to learn about international trade. For this was the island of St. Croix, and this is a sugar plantation island. The commodity of the area is the very valuable commodity of sugar. And so I am starting as a young boy to understand how these international taxes are affecting the cost of goods, as well as how the goods are transmitted through different parties. But this Stamp Act was not to live long. It was widely, as I mentioned before, contested by the people. They partitioned, and Parliament relented, and they cancelled the Stamp Act, but left in the right for Parliament to assess more taxes, and eventually that is what exactly they did. There was a long history of different coercive acts that came to us, and when such uh, in such a hostile, really criminal method of taking our money by force comes to us, we seek redress in the courts, in the newspapers, in petitions directly to the king, culminating in this room right before the Declaration of Independence with the olive branch petition, apparently to which the king did not even read. The obstinance of the monarchy and their complete control over reality in their domain, in their kingdom, has left them blind to the possibilities of the American continent, something to which I can see clearly. The human potential, the economic potential, the natural resource potential of this continent is tremendous. The Parliament only saw fit to reward us in the New World with a delegate to Parliament in the House of Commons, then all of these hostilities to the taxes would have went away, for we would have a vote in such proceedings. And if we were defeated, we were defeated, but we were not even given that vote. This is the key to America. This is the key to who we are as a people. We wanted that right to vote. Because when you vote, your voice matters. It is officially recorded in the annual. Your choice in aggregate is going to lead you as best they may. But if you do not have a vote, then your voice doesn't matter. If a concern comes up in society, why should we even listen to you? Your voice doesn't matter. You don't carry a vote. So we wanted that vote. We wanted to belong in society. This is something that was not available to us for the last millennia as we are coming out of the feudal kingdom system of Great Britain, where upward mobility is severely restricted. But here in the New World, we can get that. Similar to Benjamin Franklin, even if you live in the old world in Great Britain, you can indenture yourself via a contract to which you would serve as a slave temporarily, not hereditarily, for a term of service in accompanying years, 7, 10, or 12. And then at the end of said contract, whatever you negotiated, maybe you get money, maybe you get land, but with either, you can get property. You can get the means necessary for acquiring the vote. In order to vote in the 18th century New World colonies, you have to be a white male over the age of 18. You have to belong to the Church of England, to which the king is also God's representative on earth, and you have to own property. For once you have property, you have demonstrated the wherewithal of acquiring stability. And with stability comes reason. And that is who we want to cast votes. Reasonable people. Later on, in this very room, when we were creating our US Constitution, where we are uniting these states under a new form of government, really completely different than the Articles of Confederation. We thought about who should vote. We thought about who should vote for what office. Now, mind you, when the gentlemen met here, I must say, a lot of that was really because of the work that I did in the years past, even starting during the war, to create a better form of government because I suffered so much under the Articles of Confederation with the general and the army. And my Annapolis Convention was a big turning point in trying to get more awareness and cohesiveness towards the idea of a better system of government. But once it's all done, you are left with a bicameral legislature and three branches of government. The president is not elected by the people. The president is elected by electors. Those electors are chosen by the states. The states choose how they want to have those electors chosen. Then how the states connect that to a popular vote is in itself a unique history into each state. States also vote for their senators on the federal Congress, not the people. The state legislatures are the ones who vote for the senators. Of course, uh, the Supreme Court, which is not yet an equal branch of government, though very, very strong and powerful itself, those judges are nominated by the president and confirmed by the Senate. And of course, the Senate is directly elected by the states. We are the United States. Those 4 pages of documents of the US Constitution are the simple rights that the federal government has managed to take away from the states and collectively put together to create a strong central government. The government is very limited to what they can do. And if the power is not expressly declared in the Constitution, then the power relies upon the states. If states want to create different rules than each other, that is part of who we are, for we are simply the United States. When we met in this room, both the first and second time, first under the Articles of Confederation and then later to debate the Constitution, it was everyone here was sovereign to their state. Their leaders were the state representatives. They followed state law, they used state money, they paid state taxes, and all of the officials were delegated on the state level. Each state was effectively its own country. But from some of the obvious simple problems of that, where every state is its own country, and then you put them together and you do not have a power to tax. You make taxes voluntarily. Imagine if we kept that system today, as back in the 18th century when states can simply pay what they wanted to the federal government. I've written many long letters trying to convince Congress to give us more money during the tough days of the American Revolution when I served as an independent in Denver, Washington. I can tell you that that system of altruism is not supported for great endeavor. And all choices had to be unanimous amongst these 13 different regions of the United States, each with their own personality, often religion, sometimes language, and familiarly different customs and cultures, all coming together under one idea that our rights cannot be taken away from us. And that if the government tries to take away our rights, namely our right to have a representative in Parliament who would voice our concerns, which is guaranteed in the British Constitution at the time, then we will rebel and create a better system. That is what we did, and I was very happy to be a part of creating this system, both from a military point of view as well as from a legal point of view, later on with the Constitution, and finally, in a financial point of view, as the first Secretary of the Treasury, to which my grand idea about the possibilities of America, the human talent that exists here, which is being squandered, the natural resources which are abundant, all of this greatness which lies in front of us, it needs to be harnessed under a unified system to which I created. But that is a story for another day. I'd like to thank you for coming. Please visit alexanderhamilton.live for more information. Have a good day.